Okay, don't laugh. But do you ever get the feeling you've lived a life that wasn't yours? Like you remember things you never learned or know how to do something you were never taught? I have. All the time. Sometimes I swear I've got leftover memories in my bones, like maybe they came from my great-grandma or someone I used to be. I know, sounds weird. But how else do you explain why I feel at home around horses even though I haven't ridden in years? Or why Fibonacci retracements made sense to me before I ever cracked a book on trading? Call it reincarnation. Call it genetic memory. Call it trading déjà vu. Whatever it is, I've learned not to ignore it, especially in the market. Because sometimes your gut knows what your brain doesn't, and that whisper of instinct, that can be your edge. This week we're diving into those weird little nudges, the trades you just know you should take, and what happens when you trust your inner compass, even when you don't understand it. And if you've ever had a memory that didn't belong to you, stick around. You're not the only one.
Welcome to the deep dive. Grab your favorite beverage because today we're digging into something really fascinating about decision making, especially in high stakes stuff like trading.
Yeah, it's a tricky area.
Totally. So imagine this. Maybe it's happened to you. It's a sleepy Thursday, coffee's beside you, and your finger's kind of hovering over the buy button.
Oh.
But there's no, screamingly obvious reason on the chart, no clear signal, yet something inside just whispers, this is it, do it.
Right, that little nudge.
Exactly. And then, maybe 10 minutes later, wham! The market jolts your way. You've made a tidy gain.
And then comes the fun part.
Trying to justify it afterwards. Making up some technical analysis after the fact for a trade that felt, illogical, but worked out.
That feeling, that whole scenario is exactly where Claire Christensen kicks off her really insightful piece on what she calls trader intuition.
It's fascinating stuff because she's not just talking about luck, is she?
No, not at all. Or just being reckless. She's really trying to shine a light on this specific thing she calls intuition. You know, that quiet voice, that little nudge.
Even when the hard data, the charts aren't really backing it up yet.
Precisely. So our mission today, really, is to unpack what Claire thinks this intuition actually is.
Okay.
How's it different from, say, fear or greed or other impulses that can lead you astray?
Good point.
Where does she reckon it comes from?
Yeah.
And maybe most importantly, when has she learned she can actually trust it?
And crucially, when not to trust it. That sounds just as important.
Absolutely. Because getting that distinction right could be, a game changer for anyone, really, not just traders.
Okay, so where do we start trying to get a handle on this intuition?
Well, Claire starts by being really clear about what it isn't,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is helpful.
Right, rule things out first.
Exactly. She says, look, it's not FOMO, that fear of missing out thing.
We've all felt that one.
Oh, yeah. And it's not revenge trading after a loss. It's not, and I love this phrase, caffeine-fueled keyboard smashing.
Huh. Yeah, she admits she's done all those things. We probably all have at some point.
But this intuition she's talking about is different. She says it's something quieter.
Quieter. How so?
Like when your body just knows something before your brain catches up. That's how she puts it.
Okay, I think I get that.
She describes it as a nudge that doesn't yell, it nods, politely.
I like that. Polite nodding, not screaming panic.
Right. And to help us really get it, she breaks down some similar feelings, things we might confuse it with.
Okay, like what?
First up, there's instinct. You know, that raw, primal brain reaction.
Like markets tanking, sell everything, run, kind of thing.
Exactly. That survival mode kicking in. It can be useful sometimes, sure, but it's usually pretty dramatic, very reactive.
Got it. So instinct is one thing. What else?
Yeah, there's experience. This is huge, obviously.
All the hours logged, right?
Yeah, all the hard lessons learned.
Yeah.
The wins, the losses, the patterns you've seen again and again. That's what makes your gut smarter over time. It's that deep well of knowledge you've built.
Okay, so instinct, experience. What's the third piece?
The tricky one, emotion. This is where she says, things get dicey.
Ah, yes. Emotion in decision-making. Always messy.
Totally. She even compares emotion to your ex.
Yeah.
Showing up uninvited, trying to talk you into something risky.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And probably quite accurate for trading sometimes.
Right. So Claire's really firm here. She says intuition is not emotion. Emotion is loud. Intuition is steady.
Loud versus steady. That's a key difference.
Yeah. So she asks herself this question. Is this a knowing or a need?
A knowing or a need.
If it feels desperate, panicky, needy, that's emotion talking. If it feels calm, settled, even if it's urging action, That's her inner guide.
That's a really powerful filter, distinguishing between that reactive impulse and something deeper, more settled.
Exactly. But it does raise the question, doesn't it? If it's not just raw emotion, where does this calm, steady intuition actually, come from?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Where does it originate?
And this is where Claire admits she might lose the rational crowd, as she puts it.
Oh, how so?
Because she sometimes feels like the knowing isn't mine at all.
Okay. What does she mean by that?
She jokes about sounding like she sells crystals, but she talks about maybe carrying wisdom in our blood.
Wisdom in the blood, like ancestral stuff.
Kind of. She mentions her mom, who could apparently predict thunderstorms way in advance. Or she even pictures this, like made-up grandpa ghost trader whispering advice.
Okay, that's out there. But intriguing. Is she being literal?
Maybe not entirely literal about the ghost trader, but the core idea seems to be about tapping into something deeper than just your own conscious learning.
Like the subconscious piecing things together from maybe tons of data, experiences, maybe even things passed down somehow.
Exactly. That subconscious integration of just vast amounts of information, maybe patterns we aren't even aware we've learned. It manifests as this knowing you can't quite explain logically.
So it taps into a deeper well than our normal analytical thinking.
That seems to be the idea. And she acknowledges it's weird. She says, maybe it is just memory or pattern recognition from 1,000 chart hours. Maybe even trauma responses sometimes.
But the origin isn't the main point for her.
Not entirely. She basically says, I don't care what it is, it works. And it's weird.
Fair enough. If it works, it works.
And she does connect it back to psychology, too. She mentions learning about System 1 and System 2 thinking.
Yeah. Kahneman. Fast and slow thinking.
Right. System 1, fast, intuitive, automatic. System 2, slow, deliberate, analytical.
And most people focus on praising System 2, the logical part.
But Claire says, look, System 1, that fast, intuitive hit, has saved her bacon more times than she can count.
So it's not magic then. It's maybe the brain processing things incredibly quickly below the surface.
That's how she frames it. That quiet brain in the background scanning data you don't even realize you absorbed.
What kind of data?
Subtle stuff, maybe. Like the smell of panic in the market, she says. Or the shape of a candle, the vibe of the volume. Things you've seen before but might not consciously register.
So it's like old data, whispered back to you like a secret. That's quite poetic.
It is. But if this quiet brain is doing all this work subconsciously, how do you actually learn when to listen to it? When to trust that gut feeling?
Yeah, because you can't just let intuition drive everything, surely. That sounds dangerous.
No, definitely not. And she's very clear on that. She says she doesn't let her gut run the account.
Okay, good.
But she absolutely lets it speak up, gets a voice at the table.
So when does it get listened to? What are the conditions?
She trusts under specific circumstances. First, she has to have already done the homework, studied the setup logically.
Right, the groundwork has to be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Second, the signal itself has to feel peaceful, calm, not panicked or desperate. Remember the knowing versus need thing.
Yeah, that distinction again makes sense.
Third, it usually aligns broadly with what the chart is starting to say, maybe just a little bit ahead of the curve. It's not totally out of left field.
So it confirms or anticipates the data rather than contradicting it wildly.
Generally, yes. And she adds kind of humorously, she trusts it when that super analytical voice in her head isn't screaming for absolute definitive proof right this second. Sometimes you just have to act on that nudge.
That's interesting. So it's not about throwing logic out the window. It's more like using intuition as an early warning system, maybe, or a confirmation signal.
I think that's a good way to put it. But just as crucial is knowing when not to trust it. She has a clear list for that, too.
Okay, let's hear the do not trust list. This sounds important.
Definitely. She says absolutely no trusting the gut when she's tired, angry, or hangry.
Huh. Yes. Basic human needs override intuition. Makes sense.
Totally. Also, she doesn't trust it if she feels like she's forcing a trade, maybe because she hasn't had a win all week and feels pressure.
That need creeping in again, not the knowing.
Exactly. It's also a no-go if the feeling seems more like a gamble, a hopeful punt, rather than a genuine glimpse of something.
So wishful thinking doesn't count as intuition.
Nope. And finally, she doesn't trust it if she's just generally feeling overwhelmed by other stuff, external pressures, lots of noise and distraction.
That really highlights how much self-awareness is required, doesn't it? Your internal state, your environment. It all affects whether you can hear that quiet voice clearly.
absolutely spot on. And for you, the listener, thinking about this beyond trading, it's about cultivating that right internal environment, that quiet space. So if that intuitive nudge comes, you can actually recognize it for what it is.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what does Claire see as her real edge in trading? After all this talk about tuition, homework, emotional control, what's the core thing?
You might expect, some fancy indicator she developed or a secret chart pattern.
Right, the usual guru stuff.
But nope, she's quite direct. She says it's not some indicator. It's not a secret pattern. Her real edge, he believes, is that quiet voice that says yes before the chart does.
Wow, so it really comes down to that inner knowing.
But, and this is a huge but, she stresses that this voice isn't some magic shortcut. It's not a replacement for hard work.
Okay. So how does it develop then?
It only shows up, she says, if you've put in the work.
The screen time, the analysis.
Yep. If you've made the mistakes.
The painful lessons.
Definitely. If you've learned the rules well enough to know when your gut's allowed to break them.
Okay, that's a powerful statement. You have to master the rules before you can intuitively bend them.
Precisely. So intuition isn't step 1. It's maybe step 10. It builds on the foundation, doesn't replace it. It's a product of all that deep immersion and experience.
That feels like a really critical takeaway, actually, especially for anyone listening who's maybe new to trading or new to any complex field.
Yeah, her message is pretty clear on that. She basically says, don't stress about having a sixth sense. Build the first 5 first.
Get the basics down. Do the work, understand the fundamentals, make the inevitable mistakes.
Exactly. You need that solid base before you can really start to cultivate and, more importantly, trust that deeper sense of knowing.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Claire Christensen's perspective, she leaves us with quite a thought, doesn't she?
She does. Her final line is pretty evocative. The best signal doesn't show up in the candles. It shows up in your spine.
Shows up in your spine. Wow. So maybe the question for you listening is, what could that mean for your own decisions? Not just trading, but, work, life, anything.
Yeah, what are those potential signals in your spine that might be trying to guide you? And maybe more importantly, how can you cultivate that discipline, that experience, that self-awareness Claire talks about?
So you can actually learn to recognize those signals and know when and how to trust them. Something to definitely think about.
If you've ever had a moment where you knew something you never learned, or felt like you remembered something from a life you never lived, I want to hear your story. Leave me a comment or just whisper it to the wind and hope Riley, my chaos cat, carries it to me telepathically. He might. And don't forget, Pitt News on Air is now a full-on weekly thing. Hit that subscribe button right here on this page to subscribe and catch new episodes every Wednesday. Oh, and if you're on YouTube, click that like button if this resonated with you. Also, go subscribe to Pitt News Magazine at pittnews.com, because that's where this whole wild journey started, and where I first realized maybe we're all just trading with ghosts on our shoulders. Until next time, trust your gut, follow the signals, and maybe light a candle for your trading ancestors. They might be watching and helping.